Hello viewers, before we begin we would love for you to be part of our family. Subscribe today and turn on the bell notification. Now enjoy. Dorasimi's heart pounded as she stood in front of the grand gates of the billionaire's estate. The mansion loomed over her, its high walls and security cameras making her feel even smaller than she already did. She clutched the strap of her faded bag, her palms damp with sweat. She had never been to a place like this before. Everything about it screamed wealth, power, and a world she didn't belong to. The guard at the entrance gave her a questioning look. "Who are you looking for?" I'm here to see Mr. Tunde," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The guard frowned. "You mean Mr. Tunde Williams? Do you have an appointment?" Dorasimi swallowed hard. "He asked me to come." The guard eyed her skeptically, taking in her simple clothes and nervous stance. Just when he was about to dismiss her, a familiar voice called from inside. "Let her in." Dorasimi turned and saw Tunde standing near the entrance, dressed in a crisp white shirt and dark trousers. He looked much better than the last time she had seen him, but there was still a shadow in his eyes, a hint of something he was yet to say. As she stepped through the gates, her legs felt heavy, but she forced herself forward. Tunde led her into the house, the cool air from the air conditioning hitting her skin instantly. The living room was breathtaking, polished marble floors, expensive furniture, and a chandelier that sparkled like something out of a fairy tale. "Please, sit," Tunde said, motioning to the plush couch. Dorasimi hesitated before lowering herself onto the soft cushions. She had never sat on anything so comfortable before. "You must be wondering why I called you here," Tunde started, sitting across from her. His eyes studied her carefully, as if measuring her reaction. She nodded, gripping the hem of her skirt. He sighed. "I haven't stopped thinking about what you did for me, Dorasimi. You could have left me there like everyone else, but you didn't. You stayed." Dorasimi shifted uncomfortably. "I just did what anyone should do." "No," he said firmly. "Not everyone would have done what you did." A silence stretched between them before Tunde leaned forward. "I want to help you, Dorasimi. Tell me, what do you want in life?" Dorasimi's heart skipped a beat. No one had ever asked her that before. She had spent her whole life struggling, surviving, never daring to dream beyond the next meal or the next day. Now, sitting in a billionaire's mansion, being asked about her dreams, she found herself speechless. What did she want? And was it even possible for someone like her? Dorasimi's fingers trembled as she clenched the fabric of her skirt. The weight of Tunde's question settled heavily in her chest. What did she want? She had never dared to think beyond the struggles of everyday survival. The idea of wanting something beyond that felt foreign, almost impossible. I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Tunde leaned forward, his sharp eyes scanning her face. "No dreams? No goals?" She hesitated. "I used to dream about going to school," she finally said, staring down at her hands. "I wanted to be a nurse. But that was a long time ago. Life doesn't work like that for people like me." Tunde was silent for a moment before he spoke. "What if I told you it could?" Her head snapped up, confusion written all over her face. "What do you mean?" "I want to help you, Dorasimi," he said simply. "You saved my life when no one else cared. The least I can do is help you get a better future." Her chest tightened. It sounded too good to be true. She had spent years struggling, knowing that nobody ever did anything for free. Life had taught her that every act of kindness had a price. "I don't want charity," she said, her voice firmer now. "I'm not looking for pity." Tunde shook his head. "This isn't pity. This is gratitude. And respect." She searched his face, looking for any trace of deception, but all she saw was sincerity. Could she really trust this man? Could she dare to believe that her life could change? "I don't know what to say," she admitted, her heart racing. "Then don't say anything now," Tunde replied with a small smile. "Just think about it." Dorasimi nodded slowly, but deep inside, She knew that her life was about to change in a way she had never imagined. Darasimi barely slept that night. She lay on the thin mattress in her cramped room, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing with thoughts she had never dared entertain before. Could she really go back to school? Could she leave the streets behind? The idea felt too big, too impossible, yet for the first time in her life, she saw a door opening where she had only seen walls. By morning, she had made up her mind. She arrived at the billionaire's estate just as the sun climbed over the Lagos skyline. The guards recognized her this time and let her through without hesitation. She was led into the living room where Tunde sat, sipping a cup of coffee. He looked up as she entered, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. "I'll do it," she said before she could change her mind. "If you're serious, I'll take your help." Tunde set his cup down and smiled. "Good. I was hoping you'd say that." A part of her still didn't believe this was real. "But, why me? You don't even know me." Tunde studied her for a moment before responding. "I know enough. I know you didn't take advantage of me when you could have. I know you put a stranger's life above your own struggles. That says more about you than anything else." Darasimi swallowed hard, overwhelmed by the weight of his words. "I'll set everything up," he continued. "But I want something in return." Her heart clenched. Of course. Nothing in life was truly free. "What is it?" she asked cautiously. "Work for me," Tunde said simply. "Not as a maid, not as a servant. I want you to learn, to grow. If you're willing, I'll place you somewhere in my company, and you'll earn your way up while you study." She blinked in shock. He wasn't just offering her an education, he was offering her a future. Tears stung her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. I don't know what to say." Tunde smiled. "Say yes, Darasimi. That's all." A shaky breath left her lips. She had spent her whole life being told that dreams were for other people, not for girls like her. But here she was, standing on the edge of something new, something terrifying yet exciting. She lifted her chin, meeting his gaze. Yes. And just like that, everything changed. Darasimi's first day at Tunde's company felt like stepping into another world. The towering glass building stood tall against the Lagos skyline, its entrance bustling with people dressed in crisp suits and high heels, moving with purpose. She swallowed hard, clutching the small bag she had brought with her. Her second-hand blouse and skirt felt out of place, but she straightened her shoulders and walked in. The receptionist, a polished woman with neatly styled braids, gave her a once-over. "Can I help you?" "Yes. I'm supposed to start work here today," Darasimi said, trying to sound confident. Before the receptionist could respond, a young man in a tailored suit appeared. "You must be Darasimi," he said with a polite smile. "Mr. Williams told me to expect you. I'm Emeka, his personal assistant. Come with me." She followed him through the sleek office, her eyes wide as she took in the glass partitions, modern furniture, and employees typing away on computers. She had never been in an office like this before. Everything felt intimidating. Emeka led her to a small but comfortable desk near the main office area. "This will be your workstation for now," he said. "You'll start as an intern, assisting with admin tasks and learning the ropes. Mr. Williams wants you to observe, ask questions, and take everything in." Darasimi nodded quickly. "I'll do my best." "Good," Emeka said, smiling. "And don't worry, we were all new once. You'll catch up." She sat down, her heart still pounding. She had never used a computer before, never worked in an office, but she had survived worse. If she could survive the streets, she could survive this. Just then, she heard a sharp voice behind her. "Who is this?" A tall, elegant woman with a designer bag and intimidating heels stood there, her sharp gaze locked on Darasimi. She looked like she belonged in this world in a way Darasimi never could. "This is Darasimi," Emeka explained. "Mr. Williams hired her." The woman's eyes narrowed. "Hired her?" A smirk played on her lips. "Interesting. Let's see if she lasts." Darasimi clenched her fists under the table. She had a feeling that her real test had just begun. Darasimi felt the weight of the woman's stare pressing down on her. She didn't know who she was, but the way she spoke made it clear this was an enemy she hadn't even made yet. Emeka cleared his throat. Darasimi, this is Ms. Funmi Adiwale, the head of operations. Darasimi forced a polite smile. Nice to meet you, Ma. Funmi didn't return the smile. Instead, she folded her arms. I don't understand why Mr. Williams thinks an orange seller belongs in a corporate office, but I suppose we'll see. She turned to Emeka. Make sure she doesn't mess up anything important. Darasimi felt heat rise to her face, but she bit her tongue. She wouldn't give this woman the satisfaction of seeing her rattled. Emeka nodded quickly. Of course, Ma. Funmi cast Darasimi one last look before strutting away, her heels clicking against the tiled floor. Darasimi exhaled slowly, unclenching her fists. Don't mind her, Emeka said, lowering his voice. She's always like that. Darasimi managed a small nod. She had faced worse insults in the streets. This was nothing. For the rest of the day, she focused on learning. Emeka patiently guided her through emails, scheduling, and data entry. It was overwhelming, but she refused to give up. Every task completed, no matter how small, felt like a victory. By the time the workday ended, she was exhausted. As she stepped out of the building, she spotted Tunde waiting by his car. He smiled when he saw her. How was your first day? He asked. Darasimi let out a breathy laugh. Survived it. Tunde chuckled. Good. It only gets tougher from here. She knew he was right, but she had made it through day one. No matter how hard it got, she wasn't backing down. Not now. Not ever. Darasimi arrived at work the next morning determined to prove herself. She knew Funmi and others were watching, waiting for her to fail. But she wouldn't give them the satisfaction. She spent the first few hours carefully going over her assigned tasks, double-checking every entry, every email she sent. Emeka had been kind enough to help her navigate the office system, but she wanted to learn fast. She didn't want to be seen as a charity case. As she was stapling some documents together, she overheard two women whispering nearby. I heard she used to hawk oranges in traffic. And now she's in Mr. Williams' office. He must really like her. Darasimi's grip on the stapler tightened, but she kept her head down. She wouldn't let their words get to her. At lunchtime, she sat in the break room alone, eating the small meal she had packed from home. The other employees either ignored her or gave her curious glances. She had never felt more out of place. Then, Emeka walked in. Mind if I join you? She looked up, surprised, and nodded. He sat across from her. I know it's tough, but don't let them get to you. They don't know your story. Darasimi sighed. They don't need to. I just want to do my work and be left alone. Emeka smiled. Keep that attitude, and you'll be fine. Just as he spoke, Funmi walked in, her sharp gaze locking onto Darasimi. Mr. Williams wants to see you in his office. Now. Darasimi's heart pounded. Was something wrong? Had she made a mistake? She stood quickly, pushing her chair back. Okay. As she walked toward Tunde's office, she took a deep breath. Whatever was coming, she had to be ready. Darasimi stepped into Tunde's office with her heart pounding. The air conditioning was cold against her skin, and the large window behind his desk showcased a breathtaking view of Lagos. He was seated, his suit jacket off, his sleeves rolled up. He looked up as she entered and gestured for her to sit. You're settling in well, I hope, he asked, his voice calm. She nodded quickly. Yes, sir. He leaned forward. I know some people here may not be welcoming. Funmi, especially. Darasimi swallowed. So, he knew. She chose her words carefully. I just want to focus on my work. Tunde studied her for a moment before nodding. Good. That's the right attitude. He reached for a file on his desk and slid it toward her. This is a proposal for a new partnership. I want you to review it and take notes on anything that doesn't make sense to you. Her eyes widened slightly. Me? Yes. You have a different perspective. That's valuable. She hesitated, then nodded. I'll do my best. As she left his office, she could feel eyes on her. People whispering. Funmi stood by the coffee station, watching with a knowing smirk. Darasimi ignored her and hurried back to her desk. She opened the file and forced herself to focus, even as doubts crept in. She had never done anything like this before. But she wasn't about to fail. Hours later, as she scribbled her last note, Emeka walked by and glanced at her work. He raised a brow. You're still here? She stretched, feeling the stiffness in her back. Just finishing up. He picked up her notes and skimmed through them. Then, he whistled. You caught things even I missed. Darasimi blinked. I did. Emeka nodded. Tunde will be impressed. For the first time since she started, she felt a flicker of confidence. Maybe, just maybe, she belonged here after all. The next morning, Darasimi arrived at the office earlier than usual. She wanted to be prepared for whatever came next. As she settled at her desk, Emeka walked over, holding a cup of coffee. Tunde is going through your notes now, he said. I have a feeling he'll call you in soon. Darasimi nodded, gripping her pen tightly. She had barely slept, wondering if she had made mistakes in the proposal. What if she misunderstood something? What if she embarrassed herself? Minutes later, her phone rang. It was Tunde's secretary. Mr. Williams would like to see you. Darasimi took a deep breath and walked into his office. Tunde was leaning back in his chair, flipping through her notes. His expression was unreadable. Then, he looked up. You did well. She blinked. I did. He nodded. You caught some things even my senior team overlooked. That's impressive. Relief flooded her, but she kept her face neutral. Thank you, sir. Tunde studied her. I'm giving you more responsibilities. It's clear you have a sharp mind. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't belong here. Darasimi's heart swelled. She nodded firmly. I won't. As she stepped out of his office, she caught Funmi watching her from across the hall, her lips pressed into a thin line. Darasimi could almost hear her thoughts. How was the orange seller earning Tunde's trust so quickly? Darasimi smiled to herself. Let them wonder. She wasn't just here to survive. She was here to win. By lunchtime, the tension in the office was impossible to ignore. Darasimi could feel the stares, the hushed whispers whenever she passed. But she didn't care. She had earned Tunde's praise, and that was all that mattered. She was heading to the break room when Funmi suddenly stepped in front of her. Enjoying the special treatment. Darasimi kept her expression neutral. I don't know what you mean, Ma. Funmi scoffed. Don't play dumb. You think just because you impressed Tunde once, you're untouchable? I'm just doing my job, Darasimi replied calmly. If that's a problem, I don't know what to tell you. Funmi's lips curled into a smirk. We'll see how long that confidence lasts. With that, she walked away, leaving Darasimi standing there, her hands clenched at her sides. She had expected resistance, but Funmi was making it clear that this was war. Later that afternoon, Emeka hurried to her desk. You need to see this, he said, lowering his voice. He handed her a printed email. As she read, her stomach dropped. Someone had sent a message to the entire office, claiming she was only in the company because Tunde had a personal interest in her. Heat flooded her face. Who sent this? Emeka sighed. It was anonymous, but we both know who's behind it. Darasimi closed her eyes briefly, then opened them. I won't let them break me. Emeka gave her an approving nod. Good. Because if you keep proving yourself, nothing they say will matter. Darasimi straightened her shoulders. Funmi wanted to destroy her confidence, but she wouldn't give her the satisfaction. She was here to stay, and she would fight for her place. Darasimi stared at Tunde, her mind racing. No one had ever asked her about her dreams before. She had spent her entire life surviving, not planning for a future that had always seemed so far out of reach. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Finally, she found her voice. I want to do something meaningful. Something that makes my life better, that gives me a chance to be more than just an orange seller. Tunde finished for her, his eyes soft with understanding. Darasimi nodded hesitantly. I never had the chance to think beyond today. I just keep moving, keep selling, because that's all I know. Tunde leaned back in his seat, studying her. You deserve more, Darasimi. And I want to help you. But I need to know, are you willing to fight for it? Because no matter what I do for you, there will be people who don't think you belong. She exhaled slowly. I've been fighting my whole life, Tunde. I'm not afraid of that. A small smile tugged at his lips. Good. Then let's start. I'll enroll you in some business classes. You'll learn how things work in the corporate world, and when you're ready, I'll give you a real position in my company. Darasimi's heart pounded. You really mean that? I wouldn't say it if I didn't. But I need you to take this seriously. This isn't a favor. It's an opportunity. What you do with it is up to you. Tears burned the back of her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I won't waste it, she whispered. I promise. Tunde nodded, satisfied. Then we start tomorrow. Darasimi felt her entire world shifting. For the first time in her life, she had a real chance. And she was not going to let it slip away. Darasimi woke up the next morning feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. She had spent the night thinking about what Tunde had said. This was a chance to change her life, but was she really ready for it? She arrived at the company's training center wearing the best outfit she owned. It wasn't fancy, but it was neat. As she stepped inside, she felt the weight of the stares from people who clearly didn't think she belonged there. Are you lost? A woman at the reception asked, looking her up and down. Darasimi straightened her shoulders. No, I'm here for the business training. The woman arched a brow but handed her a folder. Take a seat. As Darasimi sat down, she overheard whispers from two women nearby. She doesn't look like she belongs here. You think Tunde brought her in? I heard he's helping someone from the streets. Heat rose to Darasimi's face, but she forced herself to ignore them. She was here to learn, not to please anyone. The session started, and for the first time, Darasimi found herself in a completely different world. The instructor spoke about business strategies, finance, and negotiations, things she had never even considered before. At first, it felt overwhelming, but she paid attention, taking notes like her future depended on it. During the break, she stepped outside for fresh air. Just then, a familiar voice spoke behind her. You don't have to prove anything to them, you know. She turned to see Tunde standing there, watching her. I know, she said, lifting her chin. I'm here for me. A proud smile crossed his face. That's exactly why you'll succeed. Keep going, Darasimi. As he walked away, Darasimi clenched her fists. She was done being looked down on. She was going to prove them all wrong, one lesson at a time. The days passed, and Darasimi threw herself into the training with everything she had. She stayed up late reading, asked questions even when people rolled their eyes, and practiced business terms until they no longer felt foreign. One afternoon, the instructor gave them a group assignment: create a business proposal and pitch it. Darasimi was paired with three others: Nancy, a sharp-tongued woman who barely acknowledged her, Chaka, who was more interested in impressing others than working, and Ife, the only one who offered her a small smile. Let's just let Nancy handle the presentation, Chaka said dismissively as they gathered in a corner. She's the best at talking. Darasimi frowned. Shouldn't we all contribute? Nancy smirked. Oh, you want to speak? Have you even given a presentation before? Darasimi clenched her fists. She wouldn't let them push her aside. No, but I can learn. We don't have time for that, Nancy said with a fake laugh. We need this to be perfect. Darasimi took a deep breath. If they weren't going to include her, she would make them see her worth another way. That evening, instead of going home, she stayed back in the library, studying business proposals, watching pitch videos, and practicing in front of a mirror. She refused to be invisible. The day of the presentation arrived. As expected, Nancy led the pitch while Chaka and Ife assisted. Darasimi stood to the side, ignored. But then, as Nancy reached the financials, she stuttered. She had gotten a number wrong. Darasimi didn't hesitate. Actually, the projected profit margin should be 15%, not 10%. The increase is due to market expansion in the second quarter. The instructor turned to her. That's correct. Nice catch. Nancy's face burned with embarrassment, and Chaka looked surprised. But Ife smiled proudly. As the class clapped, Darasimi met Tunde's gaze from where he stood watching. His nod of approval told her everything she needed to know. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was proving herself. Darasimi's first day at Tunde's company was nothing like she expected. She had been prepared for an intimidating environment, but walking into the glass-walled skyscraper, she felt entirely out of place. The receptionist barely spared her a glance as she directed her to the Human Resources Department. She took a deep breath, gripping the straps of her borrowed handbag. Tunde had insisted on buying her new clothes, but she had refused, choosing instead to wear the neatest outfit she owned, a plain blouse and a slightly worn skirt. She didn't want special treatment. If she was going to be here, she wanted to earn it. Darasimi, a woman in a sharp navy blue suit, called her name. Follow me. She followed quickly, her eyes darting around the pristine office space. People moved with purpose, dressed in elegant outfits, typing away on computers, discussing projects she couldn't even begin to understand. You'll be working in the finance department as an assistant, the woman explained as they walked. It's mostly paperwork, filing, and handling some client documents. Simple, but important. Darasimi nodded, eager to prove herself. But the moment she stepped into the office, she could feel the judgmental stares. A few employees whispered, and one man outright scoffed when he saw her. So, this is the charity case, he muttered under his breath, but loud enough for her to hear. Heat rushed to Darasimi's cheeks, but she kept her head high. She wouldn't let their words break her. She had worked harder than most people in this building just to survive. And now, she had a chance to do more than just survive, she had a chance to grow. She walked to her desk, ignoring the whispers, and sat down. She had no experience, no fancy degrees, but what she did have was determination. And she would prove them all wrong. Darasimi's first week at the company was harder than she had imagined. She had to learn everything from scratch: how to use the office computer system, how to organize financial reports, and how to keep up with the fast-paced work environment. But the hardest part wasn't the work itself, it was the people. Every time she walked past her colleagues, she could feel their stares. The whispers never stopped. She won't last a month. She doesn't belong here. Even her supervisor, Mr. Dapo, barely acknowledged her. He assigned her the most basic tasks, treating her like she was invisible. But Darasimi refused to let any of it break her. She woke up earlier, stayed back later, and spent her nights studying business terms. If they thought she wasn't good enough, she would prove them wrong. One afternoon, Mr. Dapo handed her a thick file. Organize these invoices and prepare a summary report. I need it by tomorrow morning. Darasimi nodded and got to work. She stayed long after everyone else had left, carefully going through each document, making sure everything was in order. The numbers had to be correct. This was her chance to show what she could do. By morning, she placed the completed report on Mr. Dapo's desk. He barely glanced at her as he flipped through it. But then, he stopped. He frowned, flipping back a few pages. Who corrected these errors? Darasimi's heart pounded. I did, sir. I noticed some miscalculations, so I cross-checked the figures. He looked at her properly for the first time. These are accurate. Yes, sir. There was a long silence before he finally said, "Good work." Darasimi walked out of his office, her chest swelling with pride. It wasn't much, but it was a start. And for the first time since she arrived, she felt like she truly belonged. Weeks passed, and Darasimi's confidence grew. She was no longer just the girl everyone whispered about, she was becoming a valuable part of the team. She worked harder than anyone else, taking on extra assignments and asking questions whenever she didn't understand something. Slowly, the whispers died down. People started noticing her not for where she came from, but for what she could do. One morning, Tunde arrived at the office earlier than usual. He walked past the finance department and stopped when he saw Darasimi, already at her desk, deep in work. He smiled to himself. She had come a long way from the orange seller he had met on the street. "Darasimi," he called. She looked up, startled. "Good morning, sir." He leaned against the doorway. "How are you finding the job?" "It's challenging, but I'm learning a lot," she said truthfully. "That's good." He nodded. "I have a meeting with the board today, and I need someone to help with a financial presentation. Would you be up for it?" Darasimi's heart skipped a beat. "Me? Yes. You've proven yourself, and I want you to see how things work at the top level." She hesitated. The boardroom? That was a place for executives, not assistants. But then she reminded herself she had come too far to doubt herself now. "I'll do it," she said firmly. A few hours later, she stood beside Tunde in the grand boardroom, her hands gripping the presentation file. As he spoke to the board members, he gestured for her to take over the financial breakdown. Darasimi took a deep breath and stepped forward. She spoke clearly, presenting the figures with confidence. When she finished, the room was silent for a moment before the chairman nodded approvingly. "Well done," he said. "You have a sharp mind." Darasimi's heart swelled. She had done it. She had stood in a place she never imagined she would be, and she had held her own. After the meeting, Tunde turned to her with a proud smile. "You did great." "Thank you," she said, unable to hide her excitement. He studied her for a moment. "I think it's time we talked about your future, Darasimi." She stared at him, her breath catching. This was only the beginning. The moral of the story is that kindness, resilience, and hard work can change a person's destiny. Darasimi's selflessness in helping a stranger led to an unexpected opportunity, but it was her determination and perseverance that transformed her life. No matter where you come from, your attitude and effort can open doors you never imagined possible. Tell us where you are watching from in the comment section. We would love to hear from you, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification.